You know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about Canada. There's no victory lap. I was very angry yesterday, and I'm still very angry. I'm angry at a lot of things, and not angry in the sense like rumph. I'm actually more disappointed. Which is, if you're a parent, you'll know. If you're a parent or a child, you'll know that worse than experiencing the wrath and anger of your father is experiencing the disappointment of your father. Just like the, I can't even get mad at you, David. What have you done? I've gotten a few of those looks. And not one of which was when I flipped over my parents' Suburban back when I was like 16 or 17. They didn't even say, I'm so disappointed in you. They just said, I'm glad you're not dead. I'm disappointed because it seems that Canada is simply not learning. It seems that Canada is only rewarding the abuse. I was going to make a joke, but for those who don't know, by the way, the Conservatives lost the election yesterday. And I say lost, not in that they did not win, because there can only be a winner and a loser. And maybe you're going to say, oh, they won because they won more seats. And I'll spin it the way the Conservatives are going to spin it, so that they lost because it was an election that was theirs to lose, as in they had it in the bag of sorts, but it doesn't mean you stop trying and you don't give it your all, which some of us are going to say Pierre did not do, as in give it his all, and he did do, as in not give it his all. The results are trickling in. Thus far, it's a minority Liberal government. The Liberals have picked up seats. The Conservatives have picked up seats. And what is utterly devastating about all of this is you look at Canada and you say, I guess it hasn't gotten bad enough yet. After a decade of Liberal rule, Liberal tyranny, Liberal devastation, the populace, which I dare say is the most brainwashed populace in the world. I mean, it might be on par with like North Korea. In North Korea, they think like Kim Jong-un was born, and I don't know, like they have a whole religious belief that they're indoctrinated to believe from childhood. Canada as a population might be close to that in terms of indoctrination. You have state-funded media that feeds you rubbish narratives, that blames all of your current woes on big bad orange man Donald Trump and his 3 months of tariff threats. And you forget about the fact that it has been the Liberals over the last decade that have utterly destroyed Canada. You get Canadians up in arms about the tariffs so that they're so proud to be Canadians, they get their elbows up. I gotta pull up that video. You brainwash them into thinking that all of their problems are blamed on Trump. And they fell for it. They fell for it to the point where they actually re-elected for the fourth time a Liberal government that has destroyed the country. And the Conservatives have lost an election for the fourth time: 2015, 2019, 2021, and 2025. Oh, here we go. This is it. Look at this. You guys want to cringe so hard your sphincters are going to pucker up like it's nobody's business? This is your newly elected Prime Minister of Canada, with Madam Prime Minister Mark J. Carney and his wife. I don't know her name. You know when you were a kid and the neighbor would ask you to try to touch your own elbow and you go like this and like, no, touch it with the same hand, and you walk around like this and you don't realize that the whole point is to make you look like a gimp. They are living, talking, walking gimps, and they don't even realize it. Mark Carney accused the Conservatives of running a slogan campaign while they're going around elbows up like a bunch of mentally ill people. And the results thus far are in 168 to 144. The majority, like during the American election, you got to get to 272 to win the Electoral College. Is it 272? It's 272. I think it's 272. I forget what it is now, but you know what it is. It's like that, the Electoral College magic number. 172 is the majority for rule in Canada. It goes by riding. They call it the first past the post. So each riding has their elections, and then whoever wins that riding by 1 or by 1,000 gets that riding. There are 343 ridings in Canada right now, up from 338 in 2021 when I ran, because of the amount of immigrants that the Liberal Party has let flood into the country, making housing unaffordable, crippling the healthcare system even more than it was already crippled. And now they say, oh yeah, all of these problems, Trump. And it was actually at 169, unless this thing is bouncing back and forth. They are counting throughout the night. Now, we had the results in last night by and large, and people are saying, oh, that's kind of amazing. Hey, up in Canada, paper ballot, pencil writing, 2 pieces of ID, and they give you the election results the night of. They somehow managed to do it in a country that is sparsely populated, but damn near 40 million people now across the second biggest landmass by way of country in the world. They somehow managed to do it. So the Liberals are at 168 on this chart now. I thought it was 169 before. Conservatives are at 144. So there's very little chance of anything radical changing. The NDP, the New Democrat Party, got their asses handed to them as they should, and they're at 7 seats. And then the Bloc Québécois is at 23 seats. These are the results thus far. Carney's Liberals leading in 168 seats, but would need 172 for a majority. Conservatives are set to remain in opposition. Yeah, they've been real great opposition. Opposition. You don't bring in 500,000 immigrants in a year. You're going to bring in 250,000. That's responsible opposition. Opposition. It's in my butt. They've been opposition. They haven't. Opposition in that don't say Slava Ukraini 5 times. Only say it twice. We're not going to give Ukraine $4 billion. I don't know how much they're going to give. Pierre over the last 4 years has been liberal light in the sense that there has been no meaningful opposition in Canada. Period. Anyhow, so that's it. Yada, yada. Okay, with 99% of the poll. The Bloc Québécois leading. Okay, who cares about that? Look at this. The change since 2021. Well, what's that? We've locked you down. We've abused you with vaccine mandates. We've injured you with vaccine mandates. We've denied you compensation from the injury that we've inflicted upon you based on vaccine mandates. We've shat on your charter rights. We've locked you down. We have infiltrated your country. We've flooded your country with immigrants that are unsustainable levels. We've got 600 Canadians dying a month from drug overdoses. We've got fentanyl super labs as a result of our immigration policies, our lax enforcement of any form of drug laws. We've decriminalized hard drugs in British Columbia. We've legalized marijuana. Everything is worse. Crime is up. Homelessness is up. Drug addiction is up. Suicide is up. Child poverty is up. Gun violence is up. And we reward the party that did it because they're not American and we're not American. And that's how we define ourselves. We're liberal. Plus 10. The silver lining, as some are going to say, well, the Conservatives picked up seats as well, so it's great. Yeah. When a party gets decimated, like, this is a percentage of the vote, these aren't seats. When a party gets decimated, someone's going to pick up that decimation. What's interesting is that some of the NDP seemingly went to the Conservatives. They rewarded the Liberals for all of this, and as it currently stands, the Liberals are on the cusp of a bona fide majority where they would have free reign for the next 4 years to finish the job. You know what the irony is in all of this? Let me get the conspiracy of old is confirmed truth of today. Do you remember? Back in the day when COVID was first hitting, the WEF Agenda 2030 was just discovered, and people were like, "Nah, this is a conspiracy theory. There's no such thing as Agenda 2030. There's no such thing as you'll own nothing and be happy. There's no such thing as the WEF shadow puppet government penetrating the cabinets." You've seen the video. I'm not going to play that one again, especially because it's got a really loud click noise when Klaus Schwab explains how he's penetrated the cabinets of the Trudeau government. Back in the day, and I remember it because I was there, the WEF was a crazy conspiracy theory. Agenda 2030 was a crazy conspiracy theory. There was no such thing as this shadow government holding annual meetings talking about how to control the world. It was conspiracy. This is from state-funded media, CBC News. Why conspiracies surround the WEF, the World Economic Forum? This is from June 7, 2022. A little portion of the article. The World Economic Forum and its annual summit for the rich and powerful in Davos, Switzerland. This is after they finally freaking conceded that these annual meetings were happening. Have long been targeted by criticism from the left, but since the start of the pandemic, the forum has become a huge concern for many people on the right, including those who view the WEF as shadowy puppet masters at the center of a complex web of conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theory. It's not a shadow government. It's not penetrating the cabinet until you see the video of Klaus Schwab literally saying it. From conspiracy theory to say hello to your new puppet master, bitches. This is your new overlord. Oh, and what's that? He's on the WEF website? Oh, yeah. This is on the WEF website where they tout Mark Carney having advised Justin Trudeau as his informal financial advisor for the last 4 to 5 years and formally for the last year or so. And he just won the election. He is now your prime minister. The globalist banker, WEF Davos attending 3 passport carrying whore, Bilderberg invitee, is now the Prime Minister of Canada. Oh, they penetrated the Trudeau government, all right. They've penetrated Canada. From conspiracy theory to reality in real time. It's a conspiracy theory, and you're a bigot for noticing it, but it's a good thing that is happening. Say hello to your new overlord. Master Carney, CBDC Carney. 4 years to finish the job, Carney. Why? Because I'm convinced they're going to pull some fuckery and try to get an objective minority. Here, by the way, Rachel Gilmore, not always useless. You get your information from everywhere. You just got to make sure that it's accurate. Rachel Gilmore, a few hours ago, what time was this at? 1:15? Yeah, 3 hours ago. For anyone wondering why CBC still hasn't called a minority government for the Liberals. It's because the party is only 4 seats away from a majority. And there are about 11 ridings yet to be called where the margins suggest a flip is possible. We'll see what happens. It's not going to the ballot harvesting issues that we have in the States. I don't believe we don't fortify our elections the way it's been done historically in the States, but the longer the count takes, the more time there is for chicanery. And what I love about the wording here is, why haven't they called it? It's not because they haven't called it because, they haven't finished counting yet. It's because they haven't finished counting yet, and they're only 4 seats away from a majority. I mean, you could have legit chicanery, like just convert some ballots. I mean, I don't even know how this could happen. But when the determinant part is how many seats away from a majority to justify the fact that we're still counting and let's just see where this goes. One is not being totally irrational and thinking, this reeks a little bit. Where are they counting? Where are they flipping? Here, Rachel Gilmore is on it. I'm just following her feed from today and it's not terrible. Holy shit, says she. Liberals just flipped Terrebonne when the final poll reported. Winning by a difference of 35 votes, the Liberals are now just 3 seats away from a majority. I don't know if they bounced back on that website, but you look at this. Tatiana Auguste beats the Bloc Québécois. When I talk about chicanery, the type of chicanery that you would need, have you ever seen the movie Election with Matthew Broderick and Reese Witherspoon? Just like crumple up on it. I mean, it's got to be tough because we have systems. You check off your name twice. They know how many people voted. They'll know if they're missing some ballots. But when you're talking about a difference of 35 votes, that will determine a seat, that could determine the majority, things can happen. 3 seats away from a majority. And then there was one more, I think, where there was interesting stuff going on here. Look at this. Yeah, these are the ridings. None of it just went to the NDP. You would get into a realm where the NDP would say, take it, Liberals. Let's actually work something out. I don't know how that would work in terms of a coalition government. We'll get there in a second. Here are the closest races right now. Liberals need to keep all the red seats and flip 3 others for a majority not likely, given Conservatives concern flip below, and a few ridings that aren't mentioned here that are still a bit close. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 away from determining whether or not there's going to be an objective majority. Now, by the way, the interesting thing, and it's going to be in the news for a little while, is that Pierre Poilievre, it's such a crushing defeat that Pierre lost in his own riding. There's a big asterisk to this. I'm not rubbing this in his face. I actually think there's more chicanery afoot. I'll come to the defense of Pierre and I'll be a more vocal critic of the Liberals than Pierre was during the campaign. You know how many times he mentioned the word WEF, Bilderberg, Globalist, Brookfield Assets Management, corruption, and maybe once or twice during the debate? I'll go harder against the Liberals, but it's already too late. The Canadian people, in their infinite wisdom, have decided to reward the Liberals for their abuse. But they are also relishing in the fact that Pierre Poilievre lost his own seat in his own riding. And this is from Newsweek. Pierre Poilievre loses own seat in Canada election humbling. There's chicanery afoot that we're going to get to in a second. Canada's Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre lost his own seat in Monday's election, capping off a devastating night for his party as they were decisively beaten by Mark, 3 passport-carrying globalists who are CBDC, Commie, Carnage, Carney, Liberal Party. Poilievre, who has been the leader of the opposition since 2022, suffered a shock defeat to the Liberals Party's Bruce Fanjoy in his own riding of Carleton, a seat he has held as a member of parliament since 2004. With 264 of 266 polls reporting, Fanjoy leads Poilievre by 3,793 votes and has a 42,000 votes so far compared to Poilievre's 38. That's substantial. Why it matters? Because it's flipping embarrassing. It's an indication of an absolute devastating defeat. And it goes to show you, when you try to placate the monster doesn't get placated. I was listening to Peterson on Rogan, and he did say something that's amazing. Babies cry, but so do monsters. You can pacify and accommodate a rational player. You cannot accommodate or compromise with irrational partisan hacks. Pierre tried to play that line, and it bit him in the ass. The ousting of Pierre, who was just a few weeks away, the heavily favored in the polls to become the next Prime Minister of Canada, marks a spectacular collapse in the fortunes of the party as Mark Carney's Liberals capped a stunning turnaround. Poilievre, who had wanted the election to be a referendum on former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, saw his plans derailed at the start of this year after Donald Trump made annexation threats and started a trade war with Canada. Trudeau resigned, and Carney, a 2-time central banker, became the... You know what's amazing? That's not what determined the election, period. It was a referendum on Justin Trudeau. That involves it being a referendum on Mark Carney because Mark Carney was integral to Justin Trudeau for half of Justin Trudeau's tenure as Prime Minister. It was not Trump's threats of a tariff that impacted the election. It was Pierre Poilievre's response to that tariff threat. Everybody's carrying water, making excuses. Oh, Trump interfered. It's Trump's. No, When someone moves in chess, it's not your fault if you play their move badly. His loss in Carleton, a federal electoral district in Ottawa, signaled deep voter dissatisfaction in a region where Conservatives have traditionally dominated and where a Liberal Party has not had a member of Parliament in 60 years. What to know? But I want to show you something here. Oh yeah, Poilievre, known for his aggressive attacks on the media and federal institutions, struggled to appeal to undecided voters. In his final days of the campaign, leaked internal memos warned of slipping support in suburban ridings. His defeat in Carleton, a formerly safe Conservative seat, was emblematic of the broader national mood shift. What people are saying. Who cares? What's next? Carney's Liberal Party is expected to win enough seats to form a government, but it is not yet clear if they will secure a majority. When I say that there's serious chicanery afoot with what's going on there, did you guys see what the ballot looked like in Carleton? Where, what's his face? Poilievre was running? I'm going to go to the chat. If you know the answer, don't put the answer in the chat. Do you know how many candidates were on the ballot in the Carleton riding where Pierre Poilievre was running? Someone said 91 midnight winter bear. It's because you knew the answer. Yeah, 91 candidates on the ballot in Carleton. Do you know what that smacks of to me? That smacks of sabotage. That smacks of making a ballot so flipping complicated that people who would otherwise want to vote for Pierre, and I'm not calling them dumb, I'll just call them old. Maybe they can't read all that well. To flip through a ballot with 91 candidates on it, that's a flipping map. Let me show you a picture of what the ballot looked like. It's amazing. Why are there 91 candidates? You know what this looks like? It looks like a flipping barcode. Hey, let's go. Let's just check out check it out here. Look at this. Independent. Parti Rhinoceros. The Rhinoceros Party. And the next ballot with the most candidates on it, unless Grok has led me astray and the interwebs are also leading me astray, the next one was in a place called Mégantic, which I'm not sure if it's Lake Mégantic. Mégantic-l'Érable had 13 candidates listed on the ballot. What I think actually happened in Carleton is that they flooded it. All you have to do is get, 100 signatures, 200 signatures, and they made a concerted effort to get a bunch of independent candidates on the ballot to screw with people who wanted to go in there and vote for Poilievre. So yeah, embarrassing. He loses his own riding. Why? Because he's in, Carleton, typically conservative, but the excuse is going to be when you go after the government, government employees are going to go after you. Or maybe what happens is when you take the support of your base for granted and you try to appeal to the middle ground, you appeal neither to the middle ground, nor do you retain your base, who are starting to look at you and say, what the hell are you doing, man? We wanted something conservative, all right? How much to the left do you have to go to win this election? At what point do you just become the left by going so far to the left? I was going to make a joke, but I don't want people thinking I'm needling the losers here. It's like, yep, Pierre's just going to have to go a little bit further to the left. The Conservatives are just going to have to go a little further to the left if they want to win the next election. Or you take a stand, you be a man, you grow some political testicles, and you say what needs to be said, what the people wanted you to say, and what others would have flocked to your support had you flipping said it. Now you got a globalist banker as your prime minister, who hasn't lived in the country for the last 10 years, who has served the interests of the globalist WEF Davos Bilderberg crowd, and he is going to finish the job, people. That's it. So that's what's going on in Canada.